Hello, 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 y'all. Welcome. It is Sunday. It is Sunday. I almost had my mic off. I caught that just in time. Welcome, y'all. Welcome. It is daylight savings too. So apparently we have sprung forward. So we'll see if that actually manifests in reality. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. It is March 8th, 11 a.m. on Sunday. And if you are watching this outside of a Sunday at 11 a.m. live, then you are catching this as a recording. I record this show, Up with the Stars, every Sunday on my Patreon. At the free tier or higher, you can have access to any of my lives. So if you ever wanted to kind of chat with me and other folks in real time, check out subscribing to my Patreon. Tiers, again, start free. And if you want access to the full episode outside of the live, along with other exclusive content, then you can subscribe at tiers at the groundscape level and higher that start at $5 a month. And right now we're doing some real fun stuff at my soundscape level and higher, which is my divination school, more of my actual community studying. And what I'm doing right now, we're talking about storytelling and story making as a way to world build through examining archetypes. And I'm using the tarot as a template to help folks be able to retell this journey to the self. And so what we've done is, so far I've broken down the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, and the Emperor. And I will be continuing this series with folks in which I break down the tarot card by talking about the archetype of that card, the different symbols of the card, giving some reflective questions. And what folks are doing is essentially constructing their own fool's journey using the tarot as the template to do so. So everyone is essentially creating their own deck. And so if you're interested in that and a bunch of other things that I've been doing in divination school, which is part of my larger Embodied Futures Lab, join me on my Patreon at the Soundscape tier and higher. And if you want to join the Landscape tier and higher, what that does is it gives you access to pre-recorded lectures that I have and reflections and past work around different books that we read in the Patreon over the past 4 years, along with courses that I taught when I was at Brown University. All right. So that's my plug, y'all. If you're interested in more, please check out the Patreon and my website, drnicolerouse.com. Okay, y'all. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. This week, Jupiter is going direct. Okay. We got Jupiter going direct. We got the North Node and Mars meeting. Next week, we got a bunch of shit going on because we got a new moon in Pisces. We got Mercury going direct. We got the spring equinox. We have Aries season starting. So right now we're in a time in which you are feeling time. How many of y'all are actually feeling as if you can feel time? Like time is going, whether you want it to go or not, right? There is a way in which the elements are here. So how do we work with it, right? How do we work with the elements at this time? Because right now they're working us. And last night I was at the Obama Center up the street. I live in Chicago in South Shore. And so there was an event going on for community members. I'm going to talk about that. That was a really interesting community event at that center. But it actually highlights a larger kind of conversation that Cosmos is actually having us have, which is around what we consider family and community. And with Jupiter going direct in Cancer this week, we are having to now really not just reflect, but take some action on what we've been reflecting upon for these past few months, all right? So let's get into it. Daylight savings is here, y'all. I'm tired of shit, I'm not gonna lie. So spring is coming. As we lose an hour with the clocks moving forward, let's not keep replaying the same story and keep losing our humanity while being told that this is our only reality. Jupiter goes direct this week after a few months in retrograde mode in the waters of Cancer. Systems and structures of care and concepts of the family were under review, and we saw a number of different roles that were rights of roles being reversed and couched as having upholding family values. So what happens when the first war is in and on the home? Things are opening up, expanding. This is happening while we are collectively being asked to examine our belief systems and delusions with Jupiter retrograde in Pisces. So what has emerged from the deep waters for you that has been expanded onto your shore around family, nurturing, mothering, and care? Has your primordial rage made its way to the surface yet? This is the weekly forecast for March 8th through the 14th. Jupiter goes direct. So where is the care and what is your irritation telling you? Welcome back to Yapping with the Stars, the show where I talk about what it means and takes for us to become human once again in a world that's trying to convince us that this is all there is, and it's not. So let's talk with the cosmos and see what else is possible. I am your host and God, Dr. Nicole Rouse, a storyteller who comes from a line of storytellers who weave and tell stories in many different ways. And as an anthropologist, astrologer, and artist, I work with astrology and ethnography to explore the stories of what it means for us to be human. Because right now the present is up for grabs. So who is leading the stories about what will bring us into our futures? Now, every Sunday we check in with the chaos we call society and ask two questions. What's the cosmos showing us this week? And what are we being called to move, create, burn, build, and or reflect upon? All right, y'all. This week, we got a couple of major transits happening. All right, a couple of major transits. The big one, Jupiter goes direct. Jupiter is Big Daddy in the sky, right? It's likes to have a good old time. He expands things. He makes things abundant. And in modern astrology, especially modern pop astrology, everyone thinks that whatever Jupiter touches is going to bring you gold. When in actuality, if we have learned nothing this transit that Jupiter's been in Cancer since it moved here, last May, is that abundance and expansion does not always mean a good thing. It just means that whatever was not actually looked at is now made very clear to your face. And so for everyone, how has it been with Jupiter in Cancer for you since it made its transit last May? A lot of people were talking about, even I said I was looking forward to it. But then the minute before it happened, I was like, I don't know now, because it's going to start to square Saturn and Neptune and Aries. And so that square, for me, was a growing up, a reflection, a coming to kind of a coming to your spirit moment, to Jesus moment around what does it mean for us to collectively have care. And so now it goes direct this week. Right, it goes direct this week, and we've had a doozy the last few months as it's gone retrograde. Remember, Jupiter is a planet that also rules the state. It was the Roman Empire state patron planet. It is systems and structures in a different way. Saturn is the actual bones of things. It is the structures and systems that are created to maintain something. But Jupiter is the philosophy around those systems and structures. It's the story. It's actually really important. It's the foundation. Jupiter had rings before Saturn did, and then Jupiter's rings disappeared. So there are different ways that Jupiter understands time as well. It can be illusionary. Hence, its signs of Pisces and its sign of Sagittarius. Sag the teacher, Sag the wanderer, the one who has to learn through experience. I always tell my Sag risings and Sag energy, you are going to have to experience life. You are going to have to get out there. You are going to have to be a hoe about your life. All right. And hoeing about your life is a good thing, because then you got to go out there and figure out what it is you do and don't like. Right. So in that engagement, though, there has to be a grounding in the kind of philosophy about what this journey is. It's the embodiment of the fool's journey. But this is why a Sag can also get very dogmatic off the bat, because many times those kind of philosophies that are given to you are passed down through somebody else, usually a family structure, a monarch, or a patriarch in some way. And so you experience life so that you can grow into your own philosophy, right? You figure out if this shit makes sense or not. And then Pisces, the other side of Jupiter, is the collective way in which we dream, but also the delusions that we buy into. It is the kind of ways that how we construct these stories that lay the philosophies, right, that then allow us to figure out what are the structures that we need to then create to bring into the mundane to maintain said kind of cosmology. So Jupiter has been retrograde in Cancer, asking us to review the cosmology around what we consider to be family and care, because the state is showing us exactly what it is. This retrograde season has shown us, especially in the United States, that they are using the family as a location to reproduce exactly what the state wants us to be. Nothing more than cogs in a machine who buy into what it says care is. And the care that the state gives us is not caring at all. Right. So in the time that Jupiter's gone retrograde, the state has threatened to take away money for SNAP benefits, which directly impacts low income families in particular. right? Especially children. There has been the ways that the state has targeted certain cities like Minneapolis and therefore the state. And so you are trying to then say, in order to prevent fraud, you're going to deny giving care and access and money to who and what? Children and child care providers. There is a way that we have a rollback on the access of care that people can actually have through Medicaid and Medicare. And again, in this idea of fraud prevention and of caring for the society, we're going to roll back the ways in which people can access care. Reflect upon what these motherfuckers have shown us, y'all, and ask ourselves, and what does it mean to then care for ourselves? So Jupiter goes direct this week. Now, at the same time Jupiter goes direct this week, okay? The same time Jupiter goes direct this week, we have got things happening in Pisces and Aries. I want you to remember something right now. We have heavy stelliums, heavy energy in Pisces and Aries, the head to the feet. The head to the feet. All right? The feet to the head, I should say, actually, the feet to the head. And in doing so, we are having to embody and take personally, we have to take personally, y'all, exactly what we have been shown collectively. There's an expansion here. Today, we've got Venus and Saturn conjunct in Aries, right? Today, right now, we got Venus, the planet of love, relationships, and money, right? How we understand exchange in a society. In a conversation with right next to the crone. So we got the maiden next to the crone. The crone who is having to trudge through the heat of the head to get us to understand, right? That if we're going to care for ourselves, we're going to have to figure out what care means. I talk about growing up with Saturn right now a lot, and I'm using that terminology, right? Because there is a way that we are stuck. We are stuck. And it was really evident to me last night when I went to the Obama Center. We can see it online, like it's here, but it was like it was like a tangible kind of essence that I could see in a local way. And this is what I mean. It was a lovely event. I'm not just shitting on this event at all. I'm actually not shitting on it at all. I think it's a great example of the ways that in society we're trying to figure out where to go. But because we have been taught that we can't actually color outside the lines, we're afraid to have a revolution that does not replicate what we already have been told a revolution is. So we are dredging up the 1960s and 1965. We are dredging up Selma. We're dredging up the Civil Rights Act. And I swear to God, I think that history is tired. We have made stagnant a time in history that needs to grow up itself as well. Last night I'm at the Obama Center and we're getting introduced to this presidential center that's supposed to be this big kind of asset to the South Side. It's supposed to be this big investment to the South Side, right? Because the South Side is always neglected. You got shit going on North Side and West Side all the time. They're building and building and building. They're doing a new Chicago Fire Stadium in the South Loop, but that's really about as far as we're getting down here. So now you're seeing this so-called kind of investment in the South Side. But it's only because that Obama Center is there. And even if you're on Stony Island, right, once you go past like 65th Street, 70, they ain't fixing. They're starting to slowly fix Stony Island here. But this street is a major thoroughway, right? But it's only a thoroughway when it benefits this kind of idealization of what a community is. So last night we're at the Obama Center and they're talking about what this center is going to be for the community. It's all about community. And they kept saying the word family. This is a family. This is a family. This is a family. And my back goes up with that any place I'm in. I've always been somebody who really pushes back against institutions weaponizing the construct of the family to get you to buy into something without being very clear about what it is that's going to benefit us. I said this when I was working in TRIO programs, when I was McNair Scholar and also McNair Director. And they would say, TRIO is family. No, we are not. You don't know me. I do not know you. Do not make me your motherfucking mama, right? We're going to do this thing called life together. But the ramification that happens when we go into these so-called family structures in spaces and places of work means that we are replicating the abuse that we have all been groomed into in our so-called nuclear family structures. All right. This is the muling that happens a lot of times with Black women and queer folks in institutional spaces that we ourselves end up aiding and abetting in. Why? Because we've been told in the fucking family that our role is to be of service to somebody else. Stop making your family, your structure of family in your workplace when your structure of family already at home is already fucked up to begin with, right? We have to have honest conversations with ourselves. So let me go back to last night. So we're there. It's a beautiful space, right? I don't necessarily love the building itself. I think it's kind of ugly and doesn't fit the architecture of Chicago, but that's neither here nor there. That's a big thing we're seeing all over in major metropolitan cities, period. This kind of brutalistic architecture that's supposed to indicate some kind of futuristic innovation. So we're there. And it's South Side is mostly black, but mostly black neighborhood. So the majority of people in the space are black, but there's a good chunk of white folks in the space too. And I think there's some Latinx folks, but you can see majority black, but there's a good chunk of white folks. This matters. This matters. And so this program is going to start. And this whole point is to tell us how this will benefit the community, right? Now, in the South Side as well, a number of churches, not just Christian, okay? Up the street from the center, literally, you go down Stony to 87th, you see the mosque, all right? You go to 87th to Stony, you see in the black Muslims selling the peanuts and the newspapers, right? Since I was a kid. There's all kinds of different types of religious practices just in here. Also a very large kind of hoodoo and Ifa location as well that is sparse throughout the South Side. So we're there, the program starts. And the person that comes up, I forget names. He, I think, believes the director there. He's introducing folks, welcoming folks to the space, and he keeps saying, this is a community space, but this is really family. We are family here. And then they bring out the Howard University's choir to sing 3 songs, 3 hymns. Lift Every Voice and Sing was the first one, and then there was 2 other kind of spirituals and civil rights movement songs. I can't think of the names right now. And as the choir director is there, he's talking about how he loves being black, which I love too. That's great. And he loves Jesus, right? Loves Jesus. And so now we're going to church. This is a family space. Now we're going to church. But we didn't ask to be in church, and there was no understanding of whether that is the kind of church we want to be in. So then we have the songs, and they're beautiful. They sound amazing. Them babies can sing, okay? Just sound beautiful. But I'm hearing them, and I'm watching them, and I'm looking at them, beautiful voices, right? And I'm seeing those children. And I mean no disrespect when I say that at all. I see young people. Babies to me, honestly, in a beautiful way. Beautiful voices, singing these songs from a time in which in the 1960s, in which folks literally had to fight for the ability to be able to take up space in a society that tells them that they're not supposed to, even though you need to keep using them, right? A time in which there is strife, in which people are having to fight. I'm listening, and I'm not hearing that, though. What I'm hearing is a performance of what we think revolutionary action is. What we think that somehow we're moving something, where we're bringing spirit down. These are children singing songs from a time in a past, right? In which there were grown-ass folks getting their ass beat along with children outside for just being. And it got me thinking, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Because these babies sound amazing. They sound beautiful. They're trying to bring spirit in. This choir director is trying to bring spirit in, but bringing spirit into a space. My question is, can the space even hold it? And is this what that space is for? And what kind of spirit are we bringing down? So then the program continues, right? And you can hear it. It's like there's a wanting to get folks out their seat and bring in that revolutionary way of being. But it's a performance. So what do people do? They watch nicely. And they finish and we clap, folks stand up. But if the space can't really hold it because it's a mixed space to begin with, not just of religion, but also of spirit itself and a racial demographic, that after a while it feels awkward when it's a majority black space, but you got enough white folks there and you got this black choir singing, bringing spirit down, but it feels like it is almost like I'm in an anthropological kind of experiment in which we're being kind of gawked at. And it's not an intention. It's not on in an intentional way. It's just what happens when the space is not conducive for that. but we're replicating, we're performing, we're playing. So then the program continues, and there's more folks that come up to speak. The conversation, though, kept going back to 1965 in Selma. And then 2015, when President Obama went down to Selma and marched across that bridge and gave his speech. That speech is part of that speech, which is on the side of that building. It's etched literally in the granite to a reminder, right? With the slogan, with the saying that Obama did in 2015 that harkens back to 1965, that everyone in that space who was giving talks kept bringing us back to. Kept bringing us back to that bridge, 1965, 2015. And then they had this slogan that Obama said that's all over everything. You are America. I got all kinds of shit, y'all. They had postcards with it. I stood in a line for a half hour to get a bag that they were doing on the spot. You are America, right? This is a signature. If you're listening to this, I'm showing some swag here. This is what the building looks like as a silhouette outside, right? We got a personal kind of card from a message from Obama that he signed, and it's a reminder of this idea that we are family and we are America, but it kept bringing us back to 1965. Stay with me here, y'all. There's a point in what I'm saying. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, this is really interesting because the space, right? You can feel it. There's an energy here. People want to be ignited. There was a way people wanted to be excited, be ignited, figuring something else out. And I could tell that the speeches actually wanted to do that as well. So again, I'm not trying to shit on anyone. But there is a way that we're stuck. And I kept realizing this. We are stuck. We are stuck in the past. We are stuck in a moment in time in which we keep trying to reproduce and replicate and have not asked ourselves the question why we refuse to let the past grow the fuck up. Did it work? Right? Did it work? We got children singing hymns. Well, at the same time, we have taken away the rights of children to actually critically think for themselves. Well, at the same time being said, telling these children, telling young people that they will be the ones who will save us. Well, at the same time, taking away every kind of social, cultural care networks and institutions and safety nets that we have. Well, at the same time, feeding us for the past 20, 30 years in media, these dystopian futures in which the only way forward is going to be for the rich to eat the poor. So therefore, the poor must rise up, but the poor rises up by young people. Well, at the same time, do you hear what I'm saying, y'all? At the same time, at the same time, at the same time. What is the story that we are telling and why? Jupiter retrograde in Cancer was harsh, I think, for a reason. We had to face a hard reality. We had to face a hard reality that we don't know what care really means because the state has done a good goddamn job of making us feel as if we must earn the ability to rest. We must earn the ability to have food that nourishes us, that we must earn the ability to have relationships that care for us without performing or feeling as if somebody's always going to come and get you, right? There's a harsh reality of the stories that we have bought into, even as we say we are pushing back against them, because that is just how good these systems are and having us digest them. They start at the foundations, and the foundations, the feet, y'all, Pisces, the foundations of this are the family. Because that is what constructs us. That is what nurtures us. That is what grooms us, right? Yes, and Black Lives Matter did highlight generational differences. But there is a way, Liv, and I'm glad you brought this up. There is a way that when we talk about intergenerational concepts, there is a way that's been heavily pushed back against and weaponized. I have seen online a very interesting retelling of the 1960s. Again, here we go. Let's go back to the 1960s. The 1960s is doing a lot of work right now in 2026. Doing a lot of work. Right? It is keeping us stuck in the mud in a black and white kind of sepia type of filtering that we really have to break through and break free. Mercury retrograde in Pisces, I truly believe, is having us, again, collectively, not just reflect, but having to ask some deeper questions about what it is that we are actually buying into and deluding ourselves for, because do these stories even make any sense? I'm seeing folks online who are calling themselves organizers, especially from Chicago organizers, saying that it's basically millennials, us and older, who ain't shit because we don't know what we're doing, and it's always been the youth who are the ones that led revolutions and are the ones that are progressive and in nature. That doesn't make any sense, y'all. And what they were using again was the 1960s. You are right, Liv. The 60s are tired. The 60s are tired. And when you go back and you listen to what they're saying, it's like that doesn't make any sense, though. How can it be that youth were the only ones doing all of this work? How is it that you had young people were the ones who could organize bus boycotts and voter registration and food pantries and the like? That doesn't make any sense, right? But when you've bought into the nonsense of your oppressor, trying to perform how your oppressor has told you revolution and intellect is, you start to spew out nonsensical bullshit and think that that is somehow a foundational way to do something different, when in actuality, all we're doing is replicating the same goddamn thing over and over again. The 60s are tired because we've not learned from them. We've not learned from them. Pisces, the deep waters are active. The North Node is here along with Mars. You also have, again, Mercury retrograde. And there is, what else is going on in the sun for right now? That North Node has been upending, to me, the past, has been upending the dead, has been asking us to have to re-engage with it in a different way. And all of those planets that have gone through Pisces since the North Node has been here have gone through that deep cleansing. When Neptune finally finished out and you passed through Neptune, every planet had to go through a cleanse. So everything has been cleansed. Everything has had to be drowned and come up again to figure out, what does it mean to breathe on your own? What does it mean to actually take a breath when you do not digest somebody else's understanding of what life is? Okay. With this, we have had history weaponized in a way that I have not seen in a while. It definitely happened. It's definitely happened with since Gaza in October 7th or 2023, but heavily before then. But really, in the kind of national and international lexicon, we are seeing the past being dredged up. We are seeing the dead being dredged up right now. Okay. So with that, there is a way that Pisces, the feet, there is an awakening here, but also we got the head awakened. So the feet are active. The feet are here. Your toes, your feet are the foundation of you and your body. Your toes, the left and right toe in Ifa, represent your bloodlines, your mother and your father's line, because you literally stand on your ancestors. You are who you come from. Okay. And if you need Western science to validate that, baby, it's called DNA. All right. Head. Now we're being also the head activated. So the feet are activated, which means the dead are activated, history is activated. And there is a way we have to re-examine that from what? A different site, because the head is here. Neptune is at the head, Saturn's at the head, now Venus is here, right? But Saturn and Neptune here, these are outer planets, these are longer standing transits. We are having to, again, reevaluate and ask ourselves, do these fucking stories make sense? Neptune has come up to the from the deep waters. So going back to the 1960s then, does that make sense? How do young people have the ability to organize all of that without the help of anybody else? That doesn't make any fucking sense. You needed resources. In order to have that bus boycott, it took years of planning, and it wasn't the first attempt that they had. So what is your relationship to failure, right? What's your relationship to failure? What's your relationship to time and patience? At the same time, when we're talking about young people, especially SNCC, right, in the South, it was Ella Baker and folks who were working with Ella Baker who trained them, and they were the ones who were against this hierarchical kind of leadership. So when Martin and the Rainbow Coalition came in, they got their ass cussed out more than once. Why? Because they're bringing a patriarchal structure in to another structure that is trying to figure out how to do this thing more egalitarian. more flattened, more in a way in which intergenerational constructs are being done. So when that ended up having and things fractured, you have some folks for SNCC who went out west. You have folks that came up north. There was a whole different networks of things, what I'm saying, y'all. But in all of these different iterations, it was always intergenerational because that's the only way you could have made it sense to do it because you needed some fucking resources. Right? You got to figure out where things lie. So 1965 comes back last night, and I'm sitting here like, but what about 2026? You're talking about the dreams of 1965. What are the dreams of 2026? Right? You are America was the slogan that kept repeating over and over from Obama's presidency and his talk in 2015. Yes, let's take that. Let's take that. I'll take that slogan seriously. Slogan seriously. You are America. You are America. What does that mean to you? You are America. Who is the you that is there? Aries, Neptune, Saturn. Identity is breaking. What is your relationship to your understanding of who you are? Once your feet, your lineage, and the stories that you constructed your sense of self on are having to do a little bit of a funky Watusi, having to do a bit of a reflection, having to do a bit of questioning, a curiosity. The play has come out. Jupiter is now direct this week, which means that it is activating and expanding its signs of Pisces and Sag. We got Lilith and Sag, y'all. Lilith hanging out in Sag. So there is a wilding, there is a disrupting, there is a primordial understanding and awakening of the systems of logics, of knowledge that we are relying upon. It's Sagittarius. And then Pisces. Mars and the North Node will meet at the end of this week. That is an activation, that is an irritation, that is fire. What does your irritation tell you? And many times your irritation is trying to probably tell you, does this shit make any sense? And if not, why are you buying into some nonsense? So what is the sense we're trying to make sense of? What does it mean for us to actually save ourselves then? You are America. You are America. You, who is the you? Identity is breaking. So who is the you emerging? And what is the America we are talking about? See, this is where I want us to start to play with things, right? This is why I'm not shitting on what happened last night. I want to play with this. I want to get a little curious with it. You say this is community and family. We are America. Then what is the America we are talking about? Because the America that was presented last night was one from 1965 and 2015. I did not see an America of 2026 in a South Side location in which we are seeing a rise of prices of housing and food and the like. We are seeing the beginnings of a quantum lab not that far down from here that is projecting to decimate us environmentally while claiming to somehow bring us into the next century. Right? We have got school systems right here in which our kids cannot have the newest technologies to begin with. Yeah, you want to tell us that the future of the South Side and the community is in a fucking quantum lab, in a presidential space in which we can use the open greenery. But before you put that building there, it was already open greenery to begin with. And the lake used to be open as well until we sold that to the highest bidder so that the Daly family could get their kickback. So what is community and family? What is the America we are talking about? I believe that America. So yes, I do believe I am America. You are America. What is the America that we want to construct? What is the America that we want to construct then? Baby, I will take that slogan and I will run with that bitch. It is time to create something new. This is what Jupiter is saying is also going to have us be able to expand upon because Mars is going to kick some shit into action with that North Node. This is just the beginning. We got about a 5-month expansion of getting this shit going. So I'm going to tell you something right now, y'all. I'm going to tell you something right now. You didn't need astrology to tell you we were going to fucking war. You didn't need the astrology to tell you we were going to war. The minute that man was elected last year was the minute we knew we were going to war. Quite frankly, anyone who was elected, we were going to war. Because we've been in war. When you are the head of the American imperialist core, the American empire, your job is to go to war. So whose story do we believe? Whose story do we believe? 1965. Let's go back there then. Part of Saturn and Neptune and Aries going to the head is that there is a way that we have infantilized our history and our past. Therefore, we have infantilized our ghosts and our ancestors, our dead. We need to let them grow up. We need to let them learn as well. We keep evoking the same names, yet not allowing ourselves to learn from them in the present day. So when you call down the same entity, yet you keep them stagnant, do not allow them to also expand and breathe and learn, as we can see if whether those concepts, those ideologies made sense. When you keep it there, when you confine it, you are confining not only your spirit, but the rest of our spirit. So your feet then become stagnant. They learn with us, exactly. They do. That's the thing we have to understand, y'all. The colonial project really did mess up our relationships to relationship, right? We talk about deconstruction. I'm teaching the deconstruction in Hoodoo class, y'all, next week through Big Liz Conjure. So the signups are available. I will have that in the show notes. And we're going to be covering this much more in depth there. But when we talk about deconstruction, y'all, we got to understand something. There is a way that deconstruction has to come through our understanding of how we understand relationships at its fundamental level, and how that then translates into our relationships to various parts of our lives, right? And one of the ways that our relationships were disrupted, right? One of the ways our relationships were disrupted was that we don't understand how to have a relationship with our dead. And because of that, we make them static. We rather forget about them, right? We call them demons, or we keep calling them down in ways that do not allow us to learn from them. And when you don't learn from them, right? When you confine them, we confine ourselves. So now our feet need something else. There's a cleansing. I want you to think about cleansing your feet this week. All right. I really do mean that as we enter into Aries season next week in the spring equinox. If you're in the Patreon on Wednesday, we're going to be doing a caring for ourselves workshop, seminar, ritual making, so that we can lay the foundations of a ritual that folks can do of devotion going into the equinox. But for right now, I would really recommend doing a foot kind of cleanse, getting grounded in the feet. If you can get outside, touch some fucking grass. If you got near some water, go in the water. Get your feet to touch something that is live, okay? Get your feet to touch something that's alive and connect. Connect to you. Connect to the ideas of where you came from, right? And if you're like, well, I don't like where I came from, that's what you have to understand. There's a connection there. We have to connect to our past to understand what constituted us, so that we can construct new stories, so that we can have new archetypes, so that we can create new futures. You are America. If you are America, then who is the you and what is the America that you are constituting? We can talk shit all day long. And Lord knows I will talk shit about this nation all day long, because I cannot see in a nation state, never have, never will. Okay? But these are the structures that we are in right now. And if this is a structure that we are in right now, that we must figure out how to expand, how to snap, how to break and remake. If we are responsible for our own freedom making and freedom taking, then what does it mean for us to take and make the goddamn freedom? So then what is the construction of America? If we are America, then what are we constructing? Right? What is the America that we want? Because they are showing us the America that is. It is a warmongering goddamn space. That president is doing exactly what he is meant to do. He is the embodiment of the motherfucking American imperialist core. So then what does it mean for us to be good citizens? If America is supposed to be the nation state of revolutionaries, of rebellions, of the ones who are about freedom and democracy, then what does it mean for us to be good Americans? What does it mean for us to be a good American then? To be good at freedom making and taking our way, by learning from how these folks define freedom making and taking. Do you hear what I'm saying, y'all? The past is in the present for a reason. We must allow the past to grow up. And this is the kind of the crux of this energy this week. We are at war because we've always been at war. There is a thing going around online, and I don't necessarily can disagree. A Turkish writer talking about how this is the first time in recorded history that we are mourning a future before it's gotten here, right? A future of democracy and freedom and all of that. And then she went on to say things about how it's up to us to construct and create our life, which I completely agree. But I want to push back a little bit and reframe that very beginning. I don't think we're mourning this future right now of freedom. We're mourning the illusion that we ever had freedom and democracy. That's what I think we are mourning as a globe, quite frankly. We are mourning the illusion of a story that we allowed those who come from that peninsula of Europe to make a universal truth. That's what we are mourning. And I also think we're also angry. It is bruised egos. It's bruised egos and we're angry. There is an underlying primordial rage. That's why I asked, what is your primordial rage telling you? What is your primordial rage telling you? And I'm saying that because Jupiter's going direct in Cancer, and Jupiter rules signs over Sagittarius and Pisces, and Lilith's in Sagittarius. Lilith is in Sag. The dark mother is in Sag saying, baby, what are you actually putting your faith and belief in? Does this shit make any sense? So we are mourning the fact that we bought into and really believed in some way, shape, or form in these national levels that story of freedom and democracy was ever real to begin with. It was never real. So then what is America to us now? This is the land that we are on. This is the land that we are on. This is the land that, for many of us ancestrally, our ancestors' blood is spilt on, was giving as a goddamn sacrifice unwillingly. This is a land in which many of our people have made contracts with. This is a land in which many of us, this is all we do know. What does a renegotiation of the contract mean of our lives? We have to renegotiate the contract. So you are America. Who is the you that is leading, and what is the America that you want to see? This is how we save ourselves. We cannot rely upon these kind of ruminations of a past that were never true to begin with. The youth did not save us alone. That is unfair to put it on them, while at the same time robbing them of said youth. How are you going to have a society that sees children as nothing but property, right? Gives them nothing at all. No hope, no future. Shit, can't even give them clothes that are appropriate for their age so that they can figure out what their style is. You jump from a baby into basically a young adult, right? While at the same time having these over conservative, puritanical kind of rules of society. And then at the same time also preventing them from being able to explore and be curious and have spaces of play so that they can figure out what it means to live and not just perform the scripts that they have been told since they were born they must do to be successful in life. Right? How can we rest our future on populations that we've already robbed them of theirs? Do you see what I'm saying, y'all? Reflection and abundance and expansion. Jupiter goes direct as a way to have us now. There's going to be an expansion. Jupiter expands when it reverses, when it retrogrades. There is a slowing down. It is a very big planet, but as it goes direct, it now takes all that energy that basically it was holding on to and engaging with, and it expands. Right? What is that show, Avatar? What it's like, bow, like, just think about it, boom. So the next 5 months, things going to expand. Now, this expansion is happening when we have it going forward now, when we are going to have this massive Aries stellium next week. We'll talk about that next week. That's going to be happening during Aries season. So we are moving from the feet to the head, and we are going to be in the head. This is fire, y'all. So the grounding is needed. Get your feet, cleanse your feet, get into the body this week. Because next week is the start of fire. And then air is happening a month later when Uranus moves into Gemini. So we have an activation. There is all the outer planets will be in fire or air, with a lot of the inner planets being in fire. Okay? What is your relationship to burning things up? What is your relationship to fire, to heat? Right? Time is speeding up for a reason because Saturn is reminding us that we are the ones in control of time in some way, shape, or form. We have to be the ones working with it. We have to figure out what the strategy is, what the plan is, how we are engaging with it. And we do that by owning the head, not in reaction to other people's heads. Okay. So then what does it mean for us to be present? Presence, time once again. When we're present, in the present moment, grounded in the body, grounded in the feet, and allowing ourselves to be present, to get curious, not trying to be right, but asking questions. That is how we allow the past to grow up. And I'm saying this over and over because it's really easy, and I got to catch myself being trained and groomed in academia for such a long time to go right to critique, to go right to why some shit's fucked up. That's why I'm saying I'm not at all shitting on last night. It was really helpful and revelatory for me, right? Of why we get stuck and why Jupiter and Cancer needed us to slow the fuck down for a minute and really get clear about what is family, what is spirit, what is community, what is communing. And in that space, when we're talking about you are America and we are literally at war, we are having a president who 1 minute tells us that, we're bombing the hell out of Iran, and the next minute saying, I don't want to talk about Iran. At the next minute, we're hearing, rumors about we're getting our ass kicked. Like, it's all over the place, right? It's chaos. This is chaos. This is intentional chaos. This is also embedded chaos. None of this shit makes sense because America never made sense to begin with. How are you going to make a whole ass nation state talking about freedom and democracy and somehow it can just, manifest itself to be when all of that is predicated upon you making a human body somehow a fucking commodity? And then we wonder why in the present day, AI doesn't make any sense when people are buying into it. And when you go behind the scenes of AI, those meta glasses as an example, that it's not AI actually recording and analyzing and sorting all of that. It's a person who's behind the screen doing that. It's the same shit, different technology, y'all. It's the same shit, different technology. The technocrats are nothing more than the modern day planters. Okay? So then a grounding. It's so easy to see how we have gotten here, why we have not being present and figuring and having to sit in the uncomfortableness and the fear, right? And the grief of the fact that there is a man in charge who will literally blow up the world if he has the inkling of it because he feels like it one day, and he was put there by people. Not once, but twice. So to be present actually is hard right now because it ain't gonna feel good. So why not go to a past? Let's go back to 1965 then. Let's have these babies who have beautiful voices, but you can still hear that they have not fully developed yet. Singing songs, singing hymns, singing these revolutionary ballads, right? But there's no lived experience really behind it yet. We're stuck in the past because to be present would have to face some hard truths. There'd be some vulnerability here. There'd be a realization that maybe resting everything on identities doesn't actually work. And that's not identity politics, it's identity reductionism. And that is exactly what the U.S. is predicated upon. That's exactly what the Constitution is embedded within. It's an identity reductionist document. All men are created equal if you are a white man who has land. Like, it literally reduced identities down. It reduced the human down to man. It is embedded in the goddamn foundations of the nation state structures. So if we want to restructure these things, right? Again, Saturn is structure, y'all. Neptune is stories. Neptune dissolves things. Saturn creates them. What is dissolving is you, the head, identity that has to be recreated. And that happens at the same time that we have to reflect upon where we come from, the feet, the lineages, and have the goddamn dead grow up with us. because we understand the past, y'all. Many of these folks in the present, we talk about these few past leaders and we learn more about them. We realize some of them really weren't shit. And, there is a way that we can see abusers get better abusive tactics in these spaces that are meant to be revolutionary. But when you don't ask, what are we repeating? When we don't ask, why do we always need a patriarchal leader? When we don't ask why in spaces of community that we feel the need to always bring in a Christian understanding of spirit, that same Christian understanding of spirit that was used to construct a nation, that justified why certain people could be the embodiment of that Christian God on earth, who then was supposed to be the master over its sheep that then became enslaved, and they were able to justify it because of that Christian patriarch. Stop calling down the fucking God of the oppressor who was used to enslave your goddamn ancestors to begin with, and calling that fucking community. And I mean that. That's identity reductionism. We need spirit. People wanted spirit in that room so bad you can taste it. And that was not what it was. We brought in the goddamn Walking Dead. You cannot feed off of the dead, y'all. We are feeding off the dead and we wonder why we're not going anywhere. It's not saying we don't need spirit. Yes, we do need prayer, but prayer doesn't have to be in that way. All prayer is an intention. What is the intention we are bringing into the space? What kind of spirit are we bringing into the location? What spirits do we need? And right now, we don't necessarily need a fucking patriarch once again. We need the spirit of creativity, of curiosity, of a wild being. We need the heathen in once again. We need the ones who understand what it means to be a fugitive, to understand that, yes, you will not be ever comfortable in here. So what does it mean to rebel in ways that actually feed us and not just push back and fight so that we're depleted? So this week, you're going to feel some irritation, okay? Because Venus is next to Saturn today in Aries, so fire is here. There is a reconstructing of identities and structures because it's not going to work. And we're going to see that later on in this week. Jupiter goes direct on Tuesday into Wednesday. Then the end of this week, we get we get the North Node and Mars together in Pisces. So the head to the feet. I want you to remember this, the head to the feet. What is activated in your head today? Okay, what's coming up, what's coming through, and then see this through line this week, y'all, and see if there's any kind of stories that emerge, if there's any kind of patterns that come through, any kind of histories that come up. Pay attention to creative ventures, songs that emerge, okay, stories that come up from the past, things that pattern recognition. And I mean this because this is how we start to engage with our own spirit, our own spirits, as a way to figure out how we world build. World builds imagination. World building is all about, can you imagine something? And that imagination is heavily dependent upon what you are exposed to. Right? So this is about exposition. This is about being expansive, right? In our understandings of how we have been trained to understand Cancerian things. And Cancer, again, is the mother. It's mothering, it's nurturing, it's family, it's care. It's the foundations, it's your body. Because Cancer, the moon rules Cancer. So Cancer rules the breasts, right? It is this creative energy. And so what are we creating and why? Is a big question this week. And that creation comes from a understanding of where we come from, but not resting in that. So where have you accidentally become stagnant that needs life breathed into it? Because again, Lilith in Sagittarius has been asking us to get a bit more wild, a bit more honestly combative around the philosophies that we have been taught, around how we understand religion, how we understand spirit, how we understand God. Neptune has brought the dead to the head. Saturn, the crone, has now emerged to the head. I want us to understand that spirit is important. To be human is a relationship between the sacred and mundane. But that relationship was heavily disrupted again with the colonial project. It was disrupted in how we understand our relationship to relationships. So the first relationship we're going to have to figure out how to have once again is with ourselves and with our dead. And for a lot of us, the relationship with our dead is one that needs to, you are the ones that actually need to cut off your dead, to make that dead actually die, because there is no life there. There's a reproduction of a reproduction of a reproduction, and it's a succubus energy. So we are being called to start new bloodlines. I really do believe that. So reflect upon that, because that will help you figure out then what comes next. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave it there for now. I've got more to say. I'm going to say more on Wednesday. So if you're in the Patreon, please join me on Wednesday. If you're at the landscape tier and higher, okay, we're going to get more into care. It's essentially going to be a mix of a little bit of deconstruction work, along with prompting, right, and work and reflecting. So come with an open mind and curiosity, and always having some water and some light, because we're going to be activating the space. Okay. So come with me on the Patreon on Wednesday. Again, landscapes here and higher. And if you can't join me live, there will be a recording available on the Patreon as well. Okay. And on Saturday, y'all, if you're in Chicago, I'm doing another pop-up at Babes. This time, 20 minutes, $40. I'm going to be doing mini readings around the new year, because next week is the spring equinox. It is the new year, okay? Aries season is here, and Aries season is going to be lit, literally. It is a massive fucking stellium in Aries in fire. So we're going to talk about what your relationship to fire is next week and how to work with it. And this is where I feel like I feel it, y'all, as Scorpio with Mars ruled and all this fire. There's a way that once we learn how to work with it, it can lay the foundation we need for the creativity that is required, right? Because it's a stamina. So this is about stamina building. So devotion to the body is needed, not discipline. You need devotion to the body right now so that it has the stamina to be able to sustain what's coming next. Okay. This is training. I'm a former college athlete and coach. So we got to train ourselves. This is about training the body. All right. So come back next week for that. And also on this Wednesday. Next week, I will be teaching the deconstruction and hoodoo course through Big Liz Conjure. And then on the 25th, I'll be teaching astrology and hoodoo. Both signups are available. I will have that in the show notes as well. All right. And I will talk more about those in future videos. Okay. And I think that's it, y'all. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank y'all for joining me as always. Okay. You can check out, I will have, last thing. I'm coming up on my 1 year anniversary of the show. I cannot believe this. About next month, I started this show at the beginning of April last year when Neptune went into Aries for the first time. And I was talking about the rise of the cultural worker. And I realized it's been a year later, and here I still am. And I realized this is a prime example for me of devotion. I'm devoted to the show, right? I've shown up for this show. And when I needed breaks, I allowed myself the breaks because I was devoted to the show and knew that I could come back, right? And this in my last podcast, Abolitionist Dreamscapes, like it was really hard. Like I felt a lot of pressure, and like I was trying to be disciplined myself in that last season. If you followed it, it really kind of tapered off because I couldn't hold up to the harsh schedule I was trying to make for myself. Once I stepped back and asked myself, what the hell do I actually want to do? Like, I like to talk shit and yap. I don't necessarily, I mean, I like talking with people, but trying to book talent all the time when you're by yourself and trying to start a business, and it was a lot. Basically, it was a lot. I don't have a team. If I had a team, that'd be much easier. So there was a lot of harsh realities I had to make, I had to face, right? I got all these ideas. I know I can do the ideas, but a lot of my ideas need money and need a motherfucking team. So until I get that money and team, Spirit, you hear me? I got to work with what I got. And so I was like, okay, I wanted it to come out more as an astrologer, right? But I wanted to do astrology my way, and I wanted to kind of play. And so this is where yapping came up. And I told myself if I was going to do this show, I needed to do it weekly. So I showed up, but I could not do it like I was an academic. And if you followed me, it's taken me a minute. When I first came on, like I was kind of structured. I had an astrology 100. Like I have my show notes here, y'all, that I keep in an extended document for the year. And these show notes, I got 145 pages. I'm not even joking, right? So like I do too much. But at the same time, right, there is a way that it was a practice, right, of devotion. And so the showing up and being able to take a couple of weeks off and then come back. And because I was afraid that that people would just drop off if I didn't keep this kind of schedule. Then I realized y'all got lives too. Shit. We all, we all ebb and flow. Okay. So all that to say, this is my practice of devotion. If you're like, what does this look like? For me, this is one example is the show. So I'm going to have some specials coming up in the coming weeks to kind of celebrate. All right. Some specials on my readings and things like that. But I just wanted to kind of highlight that because I also need to do a better job for myself of hyping myself up. We all need to do that. So I'm very proud of myself from showing up to the show each week. And I'm also very, 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 very grateful and thankful for you all showing up and those who have been with me for a while, those who have just found me. You take an hour out of your Sundays and listen to me talk shit. And half the time, even though I have notes, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to say. So this is always a surprise for all of us. Okay. All right, y'all. So that's all I got. Oh, and I did my first improv show yesterday. I'm going to talk about that on Wednesday. Then I'll talk about that next week. But I did my first improv show. I'm going to continue with it because I love it. And I love a fucking stage. I realize this Leo is coming out. So devotion will also help you get clearer about you. And there is a lot of shit that I have had to face and confront around feeling like I'm too much and arrogant and blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. Improv is showing me that sometimes you just really have to follow what feels good. And in that feeling good, it opens you up to something you never knew was possible. I'm going to talk about that next week, okay? But I'm also saying that too, to you all, allow yourself a practice of devotion. I'm being serious. Allow even if it feels silly, if it feels extraneous, if it feels like you don't have the time, I don't care. Put all of those thoughts to the side. Put them to the side. Be like, okay, they came up, put them to the side and let them sit there. We'll talk with them later. They're important. We'll talk with them later. But right now, that cannot be what stops you from at least even dreaming about, even playing with, even getting curious about what a devotional practice could look like. Okay. So play with that, y'all. If you're not here on Wednesday, come back next week and we'll talk about that. I want to start talking more in the chat too. So I'll be asking some questions, but play with the practice of devotion and see what comes up. And then what comes up, did it shock you or not? All right. Just to play curious with it. Okay. All right, y'all. Keep dreaming, keep exploring. It's through the dreamscapes that we can bring the future that we want to bring into the present. I'll be back next week. Till next time. I can remember sun glistening through the window, your scent still on my fingertips, lingering under my nose. I'm longing for your touch. I miss you. The days we had together, laying in bed, speaking of our dreams, daring to dream. Those dreams taking us in to other realities.
Why are you afraid of love? Hiding your heart away from love. You keep on pushing away love, but you can't keep escaping love. You got a lot to learn, young man. You gotta know where to go. You got a lot to learn, young man.
I gotta let the pain go. Move those tears to nourishment for the soul. Love, fire, fertile ground in this house. Clearing a way to call in love.
So what you waiting for? Can't you see it's all in front of you? What you hiding from? The only way from here is to where you're trying to run. Don't you see it's catching up to you? Why you trying to fight it? You can't deny what's coming
gotta break down in order to break free. Love is the igniter of the flame that burns down a house that was never a home, as a way to make a home, like finding your home, the light of galaxies that lights galaxies.
One of these days you're gonna get what you earn. One of these days you're gonna see fire burn. One of these days you're gonna stop